Hey YouTube, for our first 7-minute guitar review, I'm going to be taking a look at this Gretsch Electromatic in silver, metallic silver. And we will focus very quickly on each of the 5 following categories. Number 1, aesthetics. Number 2, playability. Number 3, craftsmanship and quality control. Number 4, materials. And number 5, electronics and tone. So stay tuned. So let's get our eyes on this thing. This is a Chinese-made Gretsch Electromatic. This is the Jet model, which is very similar to a Les Paul, but not exactly. For one, the body's a little bigger. It's like the Les Paul's a little bit chubbier cousin. It has a chambered body, so it still doesn't weigh a super amount. It weighed in at just about 8 pounds. It was like just a tiny bit under 8 pounds. But the looks, the aesthetics of it, very classic. Gretsch goes for that like 50s, 60s vintage look. It's got the binding on the fretboard, nice dark fretboard. It's got these little slices, little pearloid slices on the fretboard rather than dots. It's got the vintage oil ready, that's those little oil holes, style tuners, back access plates. The top is a very slight arch top. It's not a deep cut, but it is a nice little slight arch top with a white binding around the edge. The back looks black, but it's actually like a very, very, very dark maroon brown. You only see that if you look at it in like full direct sunlight, otherwise it just looks black. So in terms of aesthetics, I mean, this is a very nicely crafted instrument. The binding in a few places is not entirely consistent with the paint in terms of there's, you know, nitpicky details, but aesthetics wise this thing is really quite fetching. It has a beautiful pearloid pickguard with the Gretsch logo on it. It's got the Filtertron style pickups on it, which have a cool vintagey look with the exposed bits. It's got the Gretsch branded metal knobs. Very cool. So in terms of aesthetics, I mean, this thing absolutely wonderful. It's beautiful. There's no obvious deficiencies. Again, there's a little bits like, let me see if I can get the camera to focus in right here. There's some little like inconsistencies on the edge of the paint, but considering this is a sub $500 guitar, really quite excellent. Number 2, playability. The playability on this is good but not great, and I say that because for one, the body just, I know it's not that heavy, but it just doesn't settle really well against my body. The Les Paul body is a little bit smaller and a little bit better cut in terms of the way that it hangs on me. This is mainly personal preference. The other thing is that the neck was rather tacky out of the box. I bought this new, this is a 2022, and I bought this new, and the neck, I have done a lot of buffing on this, and it's still a little bit tacky. So the buffing was not great on it. Playability, that was my biggest issue, is it has a very sticky neck, even after all the buffing that I've done to it, which I've done considerable buffing on the back, and it's still a little bit tacky. So that's the big thing. Aesthetics on this is the best selling point. Playability is kind of middling. Number 3, craftsmanship and quality control. Overall, very high scores. This is a Chinese-made Gretsch. There's not a lot of, I think very few Gretsch models are made in the US anymore. It's very, very competent work. Nothing jumps out at me that is just absolutely bad. As I already said, the stickiness on the neck and just generally the tacky feeling on the back finish. The front finish was much better. The top, the arch top, much better. The frets are also rather sharp. They're not cutting my fingers, but they are not well polished. And generally, and there's been, I need to do some more leveling on this because there's some rattle right around in here. So the fretwork was totally competent and fine, but not great. So the materials, this is a mahogany chambered body with mahogany painted neck. It's got the 3x3 with the back angle head on it. and you've got the traditional stop, just like a Les Paul in terms of the saddle ridge and everything. It's only got the two knobs, and generally speaking, the materials are good quality. There's nothing that is just outright bad. It's all good, competent work. And this is one of those like economy guitars at sub 500, and everything is good on it. Not great. There are things that you can say, nah, I don't like the frets, the little bits of paint. Like if you're a detail fiend, or if you have like OCD like me, these things will eventually nag at you. You hear that scratching, popping? I've got it turned way up to enhance it. But one of the things that I do when I'm looking at a guitar is I call it acid testing, where I just hammer on all the switches and electronics and see what happens. The switch on this, it does have noise. It pops. It's not a really loud, noticeable pop, but it definitely, there is noise there. There was a little bit of noise in the brushes on the knobs. So the electronics, and as to the Filtertron pickups, I have soured on them over time, just personally. I find that their flexibility is not as good as some other pickups, and so the pickups, and of course pickups you can swap out. So if you're looking to get this and put your own pickup set, I mean, that's easy to do. But I'm not real hot on the pickups. Personal preference, though. Personal preference. There's nothing wrong with them. They make good sounds. I have, I don't care for them as much. But final thoughts on this, should you buy it or not? I mean, with some caveats, right? The buffing on it was not great. Expect to put a few hours of buffing into it, and just generally speaking, understand what level of guitar you're getting, and that you're going to, if you really want this to be a professional in terms of like stage quality guitar, it's going to take some, decent amount of work to do it. But generally speaking, I think this is a very nice guitar, and if the tone and the simplicity of the electronics appeals to you, it is absolutely something that would be a wonderful addition to your collection.